Good afternoon. I'm Susie Ellis, the Chairman and CEO of the Global Wellness Institute and the Global Wellness Summit. And it's my privilege to introduce to you some very special people who've come over to introduce this Global Wellness Tourism Report for the very first time here at World Travel Market. So Katherine, Johnston and Ophelia Yeung are the two researchers who are with the Institute. The Institute is a nonprofit, and we have been doing research for over 10 years. Katherine and Ophelia did the original research on wellness tourism, so any numbers you're reading out there are likely from their original research, and they are here to update us and to show us the future of wellness tourism. Please welcome Katherine, Johnston, and Ophelia Yeung.
Good morning, everyone. So as Susie mentioned, Ophelia and I have been doing research on the wellness economy for over 10 years now. And over that time, we often get asked, well, what is wellness exactly? Is it the same thing as health? What about well-being and happiness? How do those relate? Or is wellness just doing some yoga and drinking some coconut water? There's a lot of confusion around what it is. And just 10 years ago, wellness was not a word that we actually used or heard very often. But today, wellness is everywhere. So we see wellness on magazine covers and on catalog covers, in the lifestyle sections of newspapers. It's used as a selling point for all kinds of products and services and technologies now. Everything from food to vacations, furniture to DNA testing, gym memberships, and hotel rooms. Today, wellness is a very large and important global industry. Last month, we released our latest figures for the global wellness economy, which we now estimate to be a $4.2 trillion industry around the world. The global wellness economy includes 10 sectors, which you see here. And as you can see, they're very diverse. They include things from spas to personal care and beauty, of course, wellness tourism, wellness real estate, traditional complementary medicine, healthy eating and weight loss, and other segments. For 5 of the segments, the ones that you see in the darker colors on the slide here, we at the Global Wellness Institute do original country-level research and produce original figures both for regions and for all the countries around the world. For the other 5 sectors, which you see in the pastel colors here on the slide, we use secondary industry sources to aggregate just a global figure. The size of the bubbles in this diagram represent the size of each industry. So as you can see, wellness tourism is one of the biggest segments in the wellness economy, and it ranks 3rd among our 10 segments. Wellness tourism is also one of the fastest growing segments in the wellness economy. It's ranked 2nd among the 10 sectors for its growth rate over the last couple of years, and it has been growing much faster than global GDP. In 2017, wellness travelers took 830 million trips around the world, and they spent over $639 billion. This volume of activity creates, of course, tremendous economic benefits and impacts. We estimate that these wellness trips generated more than 17 million jobs worldwide. Wellness tourism has been getting a lot of attention in recent years because it's a very high-growth tourism segment. In our research, we found that wellness tourism has been growing more than twice as fast as the overall tourism sector. Wellness tourism trips now represent 6.6% of all trips taken internationally and domestically around the world in 2017. So what we'd like to do now is take a deeper dive into wellness tourism and what's behind some of these big numbers that I just talked about, including some definitions so we all understand what we're talking about, who these wellness travelers are, and some of the most interesting developments that have been happening around the world.
So in order to understand wellness tourism, we first need to understand what is wellness. And at the Global Wellness Institute, we define wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. So note 2 words here, active. And we mean that by wellness being something we actively pursue, and we don't sit around for wellness to happen to us. And the other word is holistic, which means wellness is not about just physical health, and it has many dimensions, mental, physical, emotional, social, and others, and they're all interrelated. And in a sense, travel and tourism has always been related to wellness. Since the ancient times, people have been traveling to hot springs, to seasides, to mountains and temples and other places, seeking out healing, rejuvenation, and purification. And even today, much of our leisure travel can be associated with at least the idea of wellness. And whenever we plan a vacation, we have concepts like rejuvenation, relaxation, and stress reduction in mind. And so we have a mental image of something like this when we plan our travel. But the unfortunate reality is travel often looks more like this. And we all know, try to get through the airports and delays and jet lag and eating unhealthy foods, maybe drinking too much, sunburn, all kinds of things. That is pretty unhealthy for us. And I'm sure we all know the feeling after a trip, after even a vacation. We feel like, we get home and we say, we need another vacation to get over our trip. When the Columbia University studies the relationship between travelers and health, they found that among business travelers, frequent and extensive travel is linked to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, and many other cardiovascular and mental health risk factors. But we don't have to be unhealthy when we travel. And that's why the whole concept and idea of wellness tourism has been taken off. So let's look at how we define wellness tourism. So we define wellness tourism as travel associated with the pursuit of maintaining and enhancing one's personal well-being. Again, let's look at two words here. There is a word enhancing our health. And when we think about wellness tourism, we often have the image of someone going to a destination spa, some resort, or going to some retreat or a detox. But equally important is the concept about maintaining your health and wellness when we travel. And so, we have to keep these two concepts in mind. And just as our definition of wellness travel, including two types of travel, when we're looking at a wellness traveler, there are also two types. And the first is what we call the primary wellness travelers. For these people, wellness is the objective and the purpose for planning a trip and choosing the destination. But the second type, which we sometimes forget, is what we call the secondary wellness travelers. And for these people, they are not planning to travel for the purpose of wellness, but they do want to maintain their health, or they're interested in wellness activities while they travel. So when we look at the data again, it might be a surprise to you when we look at wellness tourism and all the spending on it, the secondary wellness travel piece is a lot bigger. When you look at the trips, actually there are 8 times as many secondary wellness travel trips relative to the primary travel trips. And a very important fact is that wellness travelers spend a lot more than an average tourist. We estimated among the international travelers, wellness travelers spend 50% more, and among people who travel domestically, wellness travelers spend 180% more. And this is because wellness travelers tend to be more high income, more educated, they're more well-traveled, and they're also more willing and ready to try new and novel experiences.
So here you can see what we call the wellness tourism economy. And so similar to any kind of tourism, it involves, of course, many different activities and players and businesses. And it includes a lot more than what you might think of as traditional wellness businesses. Because whenever people travel and they take a trip, of course, they're spending money on a lot of things, including lodging, food and beverage, shopping, transportation, and so on. So in each one of these segments within wellness tourism, you can see that there's a continuum of things, ranging on the left side from more generic type things to the right side of the diagram, which are more wellness-specific type businesses. But the opportunities for wellness tourism are not limited to the things on that right side of the diagram, the destination spas and health resorts, the things you might immediately think about. Just as an example, let's look at that lodging category. Today, some of the largest mainstream hotel brands, like Westin and Hilton, have been promoting their wellness features. So things like healthy food in their restaurants, in-room exercise equipment and streaming videos, special beds and lighting that help people sleep better when they're traveling. In the activities category, you have museums that are offering yoga classes right in their art galleries. And even in transportation, we see wellness developments. So airports offering in-transit gyms, and airlines that are promoting in-flight meditation and stretching apps and healthier foods during flight. So what we think of as generic purchases and spending, among those, there are many opportunities to infuse wellnesses into services and products, to create differentiation and more value added, and to capture the higher spending by wellness travelers. Wellness tourism has been strong and growing in every single region of the world. The figures you see here on the slide represent spending on inbound and domestic trips combined within each of these regions of the world. I'll just give you a few regional highlights now, and you'll find a lot more detail behind these numbers in the report that we're releasing today. So Europe is the region with the largest number of wellness trips taken. That's 292 million inbound and domestic trips taken in 2017. North America as a region has the highest level of wellness tourism expenditures at 242 billion, and that's over 1/3 of the world's total. Asia Pacific has been growing the fastest in its number of wellness trips and expenditures. This is driven in that region by the expanding middle class and the overall explosion of tourism in those markets across Asia. China and India have seen especially strong growth and have been moving up in the rankings for wellness tourism consistently over the last 5 years. Growth has also been very strong in developing countries across Latin America, Middle East, and Africa. Here you can see the top 10 countries around the world for wellness tourism expenditures. The top 5 alone in this list, the US, Germany, China, France, and Japan, represent 59% of the global market in terms of spending. And when we go look at the top 20 countries, those account for 84% of the market.
Now that we're clear about what wellness tourism is, let's quickly talk about what wellness tourism is not. It is not medical tourism. And this is something that often causes confusion among customers and destination promotion organizations. So we think a good way to distinguish these two is look at our health and well-being as a continuum from poor health and illness on the left-hand side to an optimal sense of well-being on the right-hand side. So on the left side, we have the medical paradigm to treat diseases and illness. And so in parallel, medical tourism falls on this side when patients travel to a place to seek treatment or to have surgery because these treatments are more affordable, higher quality, or maybe they're not available at home. But on the other side, we have the wellness paradigm, and these are the proactive things that we do to maintain our health, reduce stress, and prevent disease. And so this is what motivates wellness tourism. There are some gray areas between these two. For example, when you're talking about people traveling to a place for an executive checkups. But the important thing to keep in mind is, for the most part, the types of visitors, activities and services, businesses, and regulations for these two types of tourism, they are different, even though they share some infrastructure, such as transportation and hospitality services. So talking about them together, such as under a big umbrella term like health tourism, can confuse the potential customers, whether they're your patients or your visitors, and they may also dilute the appeal of either segment. So we do not recommend that destinations confuse these two and talk about them together because it may hurt your efforts in promoting and reaching your potential market.
So among the 5 wellness economy sectors that we at GWI track in detail, we project that wellness tourism will be among the top 3 in terms of projected growth over the next 5 years. We project that wellness tourism will be growing faster than global GDP, and it will also grow faster than overall tourism, which is projected by Euromonitor at 6.4% annually over the next 5 years. The reason for this high growth is that wellness is becoming a dominant consumer value and a lifestyle driver, and this profoundly changes consumer behavior, choices, and spending decisions, whether people are at home or traveling. The fast-paced growth and rising consumer interest in wellness tourism is important in and of itself. But even more importantly, the wellness tourism industry should not view itself as in a silo, but is an industry that is connected to the broader wellness economy and to many other industry sectors. Because as wellness becomes a dominant lifestyle value, consumers are integrating wellness into all aspects of their lives. And so travel is just an extension of their lifestyles. In response to this, we've seen a lot of innovation and creativity at the intersections of different wellness industries. Specifically, companies are partnering with others outside their individual industry in new and unprecedented ways. So let me just give you a few examples of that now in the wellness tourism industry. We're seeing the integration of fitness into wellness tourism. So for example, the company Weston partnering with Peloton, Fairmont partnering with Reebok and Technogym, Hyatt acquiring the fitness brand Exhale. Next year, fitness brand Equinox is opening its own fitness and wellness branded hotels. The first one will be in New York. Equinox is also launching 8 to 15 luxury wellness and fitness themed tours. So these types of partnerships help people bring their exercise routines and their favorite fitness brands with them wherever they may travel. In China, traditional medicine and hot springs are mixing with wellness tourism and workplace wellness. Chinese hot spring resorts have typically focused on recreation and leisure, but now they are adding in traditional Chinese medicine and European-style balneotherapy. One especially innovative hot spring resort in China is creating week-long wellness packages for local airline and airport companies who offer these packages to their staff as an employee wellness incentive. The wellness real estate, workplace wellness, and wellness tourism bubbles are coming together with spas and fitness to create some new concepts that we like to call Live, Work, Play 2.0. So for example, in the United States, the companies WeWork and WeLive and also Lifetime Fitness are creating new co-working and co-living facilities that encourage connection and social well-being, which are a dimension of wellness, combined with ample fitness and spa and wellness amenities. And then you have other companies like Outsite and Roam who add a travel dimension into this, letting people take a co-working, co-living, and wellness lifestyle on the road to countries around the world. And then in hospitality and tourism, wellness is now moving far beyond your typical amenities like spas and gyms. Now developers, designers, and architects are integrating healthy, active, biophilic, aesthetic, and sustainable design features into the very bricks and mortar of hotels, resorts, and even airports. So for example, Marriott, Four Seasons, and Wyndham partner with Staywell to design wellness-enhancing certified guest rooms. One Hotels has been a leader in implementing biophilic design into its hotels throughout the United States. The Oslo Airport is billed as one of the world's healthiest and greenest airports, and it offers things like mood-boosting plant walls, skylights that provide natural daylight in the terminals, and locally sourced natural materials in its construction. In cities like Baltimore, Munich, and Seoul, passengers who are in transit in these airports can walk and bike outside in the parks and gardens that are connected directly to these airports.
Well, now let's turn back to the destinations and the kind of opportunities that wellness tourism can bring to regions and communities. As wellness travelers become more sophisticated, they're also more interested in a sense of place. What is authentic and what is different from someplace else? And they may include interactions with other people and experiences that are unique to local life, culture, traditions, history, and natural environment. And since wellness travel is not a cookie-cutter experience, every destination has something to offer that is authentic and different from someplace else. And this sense of place can be derived from many assets: special water, minerals, mud therapies or products, spiritual traditions, traditional and indigenous healing practices, native plants and forests, local herbs and food, vernacular architecture, music and arts, and so on. So in this map here, we just sprinkle and give you an examples of the different ways destinations can create some kind of an identity and unique products. And there are really endless possibilities for destinations to develop their wellness offerings. Wellness travelers are also increasingly connecting the wellness experience to the wellness of the place. And what do we mean by that? As we know, many people are no longer content with staying within the walls of a resort and a tourist compound that is completely disconnected from the world outside of it, or only visit the attractions built and maintained, created for tourists. In addition to the nature, the wildlife, and the overall environment, the wellness and the culture of the local people, they are part of the experience for the wellness travelers. And so they're important assets to protect and to help its destination stand apart from others. Bhutan, for example, is a country that values its gross national happiness of its people more than its gross national products. And it's the first country that established a national happiness index. So now, Bhutan is really using this to develop its wellness tourism identity. The priority of its citizens' well-being and their happiness, along with the country's traditions and knowledge and healing in wellness and its spirituality, they have become major assets in developing wellness tourism and destination branding. Another example is Costa Rica, which is already a destination for eco and nature tourism and adventure tourism. Recently, Costa Rica is changing its motto from Pura Vida to Wellness Pura Vida, putting a priority on the promotion of region-specific natural and cultural wellness traditions and engaging the communities in developing wellness tourism in a way that will bring more benefits to the local people and their communities. And we believe that wellness tourism also has a lot of potential to offer some relief to destinations that are suffering from overcrowding, from infrastructure overload, environmental degradation, and the alienation of local people. A lot of the ailments that are now sometimes thrown under the umbrella of over-tourism. Wellness tourism has the potential to attract people off-season and take them away from the most well-known destination to other, more authentic wellness experiences. And let's not forget that they are high spenders, on average spending much more than the average tourist. The importance of the local environment and the integrity of the local communities and the culture to successful development of wellness tourism can also provide incentive to protect these assets today and also in the future. So the data that we present to you here, they're all going to be contained in a very, very thick report that we are releasing immediately after this presentation and can be downloaded at the Global Wellness Institute website. And it will include a lot more country and regional level data and analysis. So we also have some executive summary copies here that you're free to pick up after this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Oops. Thanks. Thank you, Katherine and Ophelia. They've spent a whole year on that report, and I neglected to mention at the very beginning, even though they look very young, they have decades of experience. They have worked with SRI International, Stanford Research Institute is how it started for decades, and I was lucky enough to get to know them when we hired SRI through the Global Wellness Institute about 10 years ago for the first spa study. And since that time, they are now full-time with us. And so they embark now on the next study, which is going to be on fitness and mind-body. So they don't only just crunch numbers, but they're very thoughtful about the future. So I'm going to very quickly just add a little bit to what Katherine and Ophelia have shared. And as they mentioned, the report is available online. And we make this available to anyone without cost. That is our contribution to the wellness of people, places, and planet. And so we believed 10 years ago when we had our first report that giving it away is a way to spread the message and to catalyze more wellness in the world. So we've done that ever since, and this report is being released today, and you can access it there. So. Emerging business models and the future of wellness tourism. Just going to go a little bit into some of the trends that we're seeing going forward. As I already mentioned, the report is on the website. So here is an example of Delta and Equinox. And this is an example of some collaboration that we are starting to see more and more. It isn't just one company in hospitality or one company in travel that is doing wellness. They are doing things together. So wellness, hospitality, and the travel category are converging. Flying healthy and flying well. Here's someone with virtual reality glasses. And I just want to make the point here that technology, and there have been other segments today at World Travel Market on technology, that is going to be a big influence, and a lot of it is going to be through the health and wellness technology. So, strange bedfellows, not so strange anymore. We have Exhale that is partnering with American Express. Singapore Airlines is partnering with Canyon Ranch. Canyon Ranch has their cuisine on Singapore Airlines, as well as meditation and stretching exercises. Qantas is working with Bodhi Wellness Spa, and as I mentioned, Delta and Equinox. You're going to be seeing more of these kind of collaborations going forward. Healthy hotels go mainstream. Now, it's not new to most of you that there are hotels that put more emphasis on wellness than others. Westin was an early mover, the Even Hotel, One Hotel. But what we're seeing, and I will predict, that every hotel is going to start paying attention to wellness aspects. And why is that? Because that's what the consumer wants. The consumer wants to have wellness options. They may not always use them, but they want those options there. More partnerships and acquisitions, as Katherine mentioned. Hyatt purchased Miraval and Exhale. For a hospitality brand, the fastest way for them to gain credibility in wellness is through partnerships and acquisitions. So you have here Technogym on cruise ships, Peloton. Peloton is a big name that you're going to be seeing more and more of. And this was the slide they showed also. This is the One Hotel in New York, where I stay anytime I go to New York. The wellness architecture, biophilic design, and sustainability. But you really feel different when you're staying at a hotel like this. From the time you get off your elevator and you run into oranges and apples that you can help yourself to all of the recycled materials that they use, plants everywhere, healthy food available. It's really quite a different kind of experience. Cruise ships. I don't know, most of you know that every cruise ship now has a spa wellness facility, but my team insisted that I show you this slide. This was in 1984. This is me boarding the QE2, because at that point, that was the very first time a spa was put on a huge ocean liner. It was the Golden Door Spa at Sea. And at that time, they weren't so sure that this would be popular, because at that time people were cruising and going to the midnight buffets and drinking, and spa and wellness was not on their minds. So when we did the QE2, they gave us the bowels of the ship. There were no portholes. They converted the laundry into the spa. And the rest is history, as you know. Spas on cruise ships have been very popular, and I'm glad to see that now they have prime position with windows and sometimes even the very prime position up front. Other collaborations to look for, Seabourn has cruises with Dr. Weil, who's an integrative medicine physician, Holland American Airlines with Oprah, Windstar and the James Beard Chefs, MSC with Technogym, and, by the way, Weight Watchers and MSC. And Weight Watchers, by the way, has rebranded. They're no longer called Weight Watchers. They are now called WW. You can see their new logo, and that stands for Wellness That Works. And Blue World Voyages, which is launching next year, and all of their cruises are about healthy lifestyle. Wellness products, brands, Peloton. Peloton is a company that is looking to do an IPO next year. They didn't even exist just a handful of years ago. And yet what they're offering, which is online exercise with fantastic instructors, has absolutely caught on. Their valuation is in the billions. Equinox in New York, as Katherine mentioned, they're a fitness brand. They're opening their first hotel in New York. But what most people don't know is they have 75 more hotels in the pipeline. Lululemon and Free People athleisure companies, they're doing a lot of retreats to wellness destinations. And then the whole space of co-living and co-working. Here are just some of those: Nomad House, Rome, Unsettled, Outside, that are combining and collaborating in those arenas. And even specializing to the point as like Be Here and Hera Hub, they are co-working traveling companies for women only. So watch that space. Wellness tourism brings wide-ranging opportunity and benefits to destinations and their people. You know, wellness, I think a lot of people think of it as personal wellness, but it's a lot more than that. And when I see here at the travel market the talk about sustainability and responsible tourism, all of those things are very much aligned with wellness travel, because increasingly consumers are interested in the wellness of the place they're going to, as well as the people there. And destination marketing, there's a lot of buzz, as you all know, about authenticity, because that's what people want. And in the wellness arena, there's a very good place to look at the history of the place through their wellness practices, through their indigenous treatments, and bringing it alive. So Katherine and Ophelia did most of the numbers, but I have just two numbers to share with you. In 2013, when they did their very first report, there were 65 countries who mentioned on their website something about spa or health, maybe even medicine and so on. Wellness was not used very much back then, but now there are 100 countries, and almost all of them are using the term wellness. The term wellness has become an umbrella term. Wellness, well-being sometimes is substituted, and that's fine also. But remember, it's something consumers want. So whatever business you're in, whatever part of the travel world you're part of, see how you can collaborate, add a wellness component, because that is going to make you much more relevant to the traveler. The wellness tourism is now being integrated with regional and community development. It's no longer just in the travel space, it's in the living space. So we did a huge report last year, Katherine and Ophelia, on wellness communities and lifestyle real estate. And that is growing amazingly. A couple examples: Lake Nona is a master plan community in Orlando, Florida. And they have hotels, they have a medical center, they have hospitals. It's a huge area, and it's being developed. And what's happening is people are starting to want to stay there in their hotels, because the whole area is about health and wellness. They also have a lot of medical component. And they also have resorts and the tennis academy. They're very much a results-oriented resort. Costa Rica, as was mentioned, wellness Pura Vida. Here is a country that is seeing how valuable the wellness aspect is for them. Mayo Clinic, this is on the drawing boards. Mayo Clinic Destination Medical Center. Mayo Clinic is in Rochester, not a place a lot of people would go unless they're going to the Mayo Clinic, but they are creating an entire community that will service also the people that come with patients that go to the Mayo Clinic, and also for people to live there in a healthy city and wellness environment. In the future, the wellness of travel will increasingly link to the place, the wellness of the place. I know that this has been talked about, and this just kind of reminds me a little bit of Bali. We did a big event there many years ago, and it was really painful at that time to be in Bali, to be talking about health and wellness, and seeing all of the garbage that was being put into the rivers. It was very, very painful, and people are no longer wanting to see that, and they want that changed. so wellness can be a catalyst for that. This was from a study that Expedia did with millennials, and the answer to the question, what people are wanting from their travel. When I travel, the most important thing to me is to experience the authentic culture of the place. So as we said, again, wellness can help with that. Here's an example. It was mentioned about workplace wellness. There's a huge trend in people paying more attention to the wellness of the worker. And here's an example of a hospitality brand. This is the Breakers in Palm Beach, Florida. They have a fantastic wellness program, well-being program for their team. They have 2,000 team members. They have invested over $13 million over the last 12 years in their wellness program for their staff and their families. And they now have statistics that are unbelievably impressive, not only with lowering healthcare costs, because that was not their motivation. The motivation was really the wellness of the team. But what they have found is that it has absolutely made their retention rate of team members amazingly high. It's probably one of the best in the world in terms of their turnover is very, very low. This is a place called Serenbe. It's outside of Atlanta, Georgia. This is a community that is built around the values of wellness and creativity and green living. And it's a place where people can buy homes, but they also have hotels. And now this is becoming a popular place because people want to stay in a place where the entire surrounding is health and wellness oriented. And then just recently, we were in Wellness Valley in Italy. It's actually the home of Technogym. And Nerio Alexandri, who is the founder of Technogym, 10 years ago, he invested in wellness in the region in which he does business. And it wasn't really to increase his business. It was a passion that he had for his workers being in an environment where there's support for their wellness. So now Wellness Valley, actually you drive into Cesena and you'll see Wellness Valley. It's the name of the place. They have, again, hotels, mineral springs. They have healthy cuisine. They have a walking school bus program. And every year they continue to add more and more elements. So just to finish up, we're seeing a change from a me to a we. We've all talked about people wanting to have experiences more so now than just purchasing things. So me to we is part of that. And here's an example. Weston has a Thread Forward program where they use their used sheets and so on to do pajamas for children. And plogging is a new word, new name that you might be seeing where people are jogging and picking up litter. And in general, the idea and what I just want to leave you with is that there are now collaborations and overlap that is unprecedented, and I think it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to leave you with the idea that we're seeing more and more of, as I said, people are not purchasing things as much as experiences. Even at the Euromonitor report that happened just right before this, experiences is one of their trends, healthy living and ethical living, and as you can see, that fits very well into wellness. But what we're seeing now is a movement past the experience into transformative wellness travel. And what we mean by that is that people are wanting to have an experience that changes them, that they start, have a vacation, or even just a day experience, and at the end of it, they're feeling different. Something has shifted within them. And if you think about, I mentioned the consumer wants these wellness kinds of things, a lot of it has to do with stress. And everybody's stress level is going up, and that's certainly something we see happening in the future. So mental wellness is going to be something that is focused on a lot more, multi-generational and so on. And the transformative wellness travel, this is an example of the 6 senses Bhutan that is opening next year. And what Six Senses has done, they're very thoughtful in their wellness programming. You can see here there are 5 different structures. So if you go to Six Senses in Bhutan, you will stay at a variety of places. These are not all in the same area. You will actually travel from one place to the other. And each one of them is focusing on one aspect of happiness, because Bhutan is the country known for the Gross National Happiness Index. So they're bringing that alive. So there'll be one place that is very much about physical happiness and movement. There's one with arts and crafts and creativity, mental wellness and happiness and so on. So those are the kind of things that I think we're going to see. What I'm going to do now is, first of all, I just want to mention that in the report, we have various sectors, Asia, Europe, Latin America, so on. And we further, Katherine and Ophelia have further given examples of what is happening in each of these areas. Like, for example, in Asia, there's now more lung cleansing vacations because of air pollution escapes. In Latin America, we're seeing things to do with beauty enhancement and local ingredients in skincare. In Europe, that is the most well-developed primary wellness traveling destination. They're working on using wellness travel have been successful reducing or helping the seasonality issue. They're using it to combat over-tourism. They're very much about nature. We're seeing a lot of forest bathing there. And now we're seeing in Europe more emphasis on multi-generational and mental wellness. In the Middle East, we see more secondary wellness travel there. Spas have been the topic, but now with economic diversification, we're seeing more attention to the segment there. Also, the disease epidemic, with diabetes and obesity in that area, they're linking their wellness with the local people as well. And in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, there's a lot of emphasis on local African traditions and materials, and this, I think, is going to be exciting because I know Africa has, there's so many different countries in Africa, and we have a tendency to lump them together, but they're very distinct, and this is one way they will be able to help with that. And as they say, tourism has been an ambassador industry, and I'm excited to see what Africa is going to be doing. So I'm going to end now and introduce you to 2 people, because we don't want to just talk about experience. We want you to have an experience. And so we are very fortunate to have with us Brian Hilliard and Shannon von Staden. I'm going to ask them to please come up. And they are the co-founders of Mindfulness Journeys. And they are going to tell you a little bit about what that is about. And then we are going to have the honor of having Brian lead us in a meditation. So you'll actually have that experience just sitting there, very short. And then Shannon will be demonstrating sound healing. So we're going to end our session. We started with numbers, talked a little bit about trends, and now you're going to have an experience because that's what it's all about. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to introduce Brian Hilliard, who's the meditation master of our business. And he is a Lama. He has done a 3-year retreat, and he has lived and breathed meditation his entire life. So he's a real deal. So he's going to take us through a very short guided meditation, and then I'll finish with the sound bowls.
Thank you. So the ultimate practice, or the ultimate well-being, is available to us right now. We don't have to wait for the ideal holiday. We have just to know how to do it, or shall I say, how to be it. And so that is accomplished by practicing meditation, in this case, the practice of shamatha, which means the development of peace. It's a very simple practice. You can do it anytime, anywhere. And there's 2 ways you can do it. Seated on the floor with a meditation cushion, or sitting in a chair. So since we're all sitting in chairs, we'll do it in that way. So I'll go through the practice all together. First, place your feet on the floor, flat on the floor. Place your hands on your thighs. And place your gaze downwards towards the floor in front of you, or look through the person in front of you. Your eyes are open, and with a relaxed gaze, looking downward. If you had a clear space in front of you, it would be about 2 meters. And then you feel almost as if a string is pulling you up from the top of your head. So it's very upright. We're really uplifting ourselves on the spot. We're cheering ourselves up. Your mouth is slightly open, as if to say ah. Maybe we could all say ah together. Ah. Yeah. And so when you say ah, you naturally smile slightly. So it's good to have a slight smile. And just feeling the ground beneath you and the space around you and above you. We'll begin like that. Now next, we need to have some way of bringing some focus to ourselves. And so here, the object of our meditation, of our attention, is the breath, which is always available to us. And so we work with following the breath, and in particular, with the out breath. It's like when you want to relax, you go, so with each breath, there's a sense of relaxing. So as you breathe out, you follow the breath out. Place a light touch of mindfulness on the breath, light touch of awareness. Breathing out, and then the breath dissolves naturally into your environment. As you breathe in, you don't need to follow the breath in. Just the out breath. Keep coming back to the out breath again and again. Coming back to the out breath. Okay, now one more part to the instruction. This is the really secret part of the instruction. So please listen very carefully. You might have noticed that as you were following the breath, you were distracted, maybe the whole time. And you start thinking, and you're not here anymore. So when you notice that you are thinking, when you notice you're distracted, at that moment, you're already back. So mentally say to yourself, thinking, and just simply come back to the breath. So whether you have good thoughts or bad thoughts, evil thoughts or virtuous thoughts, thoughts about the weather, any kind of thing, it doesn't matter. Every thought is just an expression of your basic well-being if you don't attach to it. So you just simply acknowledge the thought, you say thinking, and come back to the breath. Now let's do it for 5 minutes. Coming back to the breath. Coming back to the breath. Okay, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can become familiar with this practice, then we can come to understand that every thought, every emotion, all of our experience can become an expression of well-being when we can learn to accept ourselves in this way. So thank you.
So if you close your eyes and then just think about what healing you would like in this 10-minute session for yourself. It could be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. And just set your intention for this healing and visualize it happening. And then just let the sounds wash over you and through you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. And you can just stay there. I'm going to ask Katherine and Ophelia to come up here. And I'm proud of you, for those of you who stayed, and 10 minutes can be a long time to be quiet, but I'm hoping you're feeling the difference already. We're going to end this session. I just wanted to point out the fact that we did bring some executive summaries, so if anyone wants to get a copy, as long as they're here, come on up and pick one up. If you have any questions from Katherine or Ophelia or Brian or Shannon, we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for joining us.